Basically, you got to check in with your core values and your core beliefs and your core aspirations and figure out who was I before this, which of that will still serve me, and which of that no longer serves me.
So no one watching right now, no one listening to Next Level You isn't into growth. So if you want to meet more growth people, you just got to be a part of a community that's into growth and start to meet people.
Amy, we have some questions?
Yes, we do.
You want to pull them up?
Oh, yeah, I should do that, huh?
Why is discomfort key to personal growth?
Why is discomfort key to personal growth? Because if you want to get a new result, you have to have a new input. And usually a new input means that you're out of your comfort zone. We always use the gym as an analogy. When you go to the gym, you are quite literally breaking down your muscle fibers, and then you're repairing them when you rest. And that's how they grow. And I think that's what personal development is. It's you learning new things that make you say like, oh, I never thought about that before. It's you unlearning things that are no longer serving you. And that's how you get to the next level. I don't think anything grows when it's comfortable because it doesn't have to. If you want to stay the same, like Alan said, there really is no staying the same.
No. Nope.
So it's basically, why is discomfort key to personal growth? You either have the discomfort now proactively, or you get the discomfort later reactively of, yeah, I'm sure you hear this, and I mean this with all the love in the world. This is no ego here. Throughout my life, I've had many people who have come up to me and said, I used to look just like you. I was just big into the gym, and it's like, you know what they're saying? They're saying, I used to look better than I do now. And they're regretting the fact that they didn't continue growing at the rate that they were. You either grow and deal with that discomfort and those growing pains, or you stop growing and look back in 5, 10, 15, 20 years and wish you did. That is why discomfort is so key to personal growth.
Fire answer, brother.
I appreciate that very much.
The only thing I'll add is adaptation. So from an evolutionary perspective, we are the species on this planet that are the most adaptive. We have the biggest brains, which help us create and adapt to our environment. And I think that it requires discomfort to trigger adaptation. So what's a simple example of that? Okay, you'll notice this. Every single time, Kevin and I were watching my YouTube channel, which has a lot of old videos on it. And I've grown so much since then that it's so hard for me to go back and look at those videos because it's like I was so different back then. But there's this thing. You'll notice this in this industry or any industry where there's a camera. People who are new to being on camera, they get very different once the camera's on. I'm trying to get rid of that. I want the delta between who I am when the camera's on and who I am when I'm not to be none. I want it to be the exact same human. There's a trigger response that happens to human beings whenever. So imagine you on stage in front of 1,000 people versus you in your room alone. See, one of them's a lot more uncomfortable. So what I'm saying here is basically discomfort is key for growth, because that's one example where it's like if you ever want to get better on camera, you're going to have to get on camera, be uncomfortable, feel the discomfort, and then get used to it over and over and over again. And Kevin and I can tell you, 685 episodes in, it gets easier. It gets easier to be yourself. It gets easier to be authentic. I had one of my mentors tell me, Alan, you're 98% there, but there's still that 2% that's still not authentic. You got to get a little closer. And I think all of us have that when the camera goes on. You know, of course we want to present our best selves. I think it's important to trigger that adaptation through discomfort. Right now, Kevin already admitted he's been uncomfortable during this.
I literally thought I was going to have an anxiety attack when I was doing the intros. The heart was beating like the salmon of the Capistrano. Too much caffeine.
You did have an entire jug of coffee.
I had a lot of coffee today. It's these mugs. This mug, shout out to Alpha Cairo for this. It's kind of little, but it caught up to me.
Yeah, that was a free gift from Alpha Cairo.
Appreciate you.
Why is discomfort key to personal growth? Because it triggers adaptation, and it catalyzes a reason to grow.
And the more things you do that are uncomfortable, the more comfortable they become. Right. So it's like they won't be uncomfortable for very long. You know, again, it took me 150 podcast episodes, but when I started, I wasn't very well developed in terms of self-improvement. So
I just want to ask Kev a quick question before we go to the next one. So you had anxiety before this because of the caffeine, but you're probably more comfortable now than you were at like 100 episodes.
For sure, yeah.
Right.
I think
okay. So it's relative.
Yeah, and I can still be me. If anything, I probably try to be a little bit goofier when I'm overwhelmed, because I know that if I try to like be super serious, I'll probably have a huge swing and a miss. So for me, it's like I'm just going to be... Somebody asked me this question the other day. This was a great question. I talked about the Stephen Kotler interview, which was the most uncomfortable interview we've probably ever done, because Stephen Kotler is just so incredibly smart. And this person said, how do you do that and show up? And I said, honestly, I lean into who I am as a person. I am the funny one. I just am. Alan's tried. It doesn't work. It just doesn't work. It's not the same. But I'm also like, Alan knows more about neuroscience and epinephrine, and you just do. You just do. And so I said I lean into that. When I'm uncomfortable, I lean into who I am. So sometimes discomfort can show you who you really are, and I think that's important.
Fire.
You like that?
I do.
Amy, what's happening?
I'm still funny. No, just joking.
What do you think, Amy?
I think that you guys are doing a great job.
Thank you.
You're welcome. In what ways can we work through a suppressed memory from our past in order to grow and get to the next level?
You wanna hammer this one first?
Yeah. In what ways can we work through suppressed memory from our past? I think I might know who asked that question. So, if the memory is suppressed, you're going to have to try to put your... I think breath work has helped me tremendously, and I don't know if this is true for everyone, but we have an episode, it's 402 with Samantha Skelly, and if you go to the last 10 minutes of the episode, she took us through a breath work. I recommend trying it. For me, breath work, I get flooded with tons of memories. Again, anytime... Okay, think about when you shower. There's something about the warm water and being alone and just having silence for a minute where I think memories and good thoughts start to come to you. Try breath work. Also, you can try sensory deprivation. This is another thing that's really important. So if you've ever been to a float tank, Kevin and I went to a float tank probably 4 years ago now.
I know, we got to go back.
And basically what a float tank is they put you in this tank and there's water, and it basically has a density that's, I believe, greater than the human body, so you float.
It's filled with salt, so you float, and it is also body temperature water, so you literally can't feel the water, so there are no external feelings on your body, basically.
So basically...
And it's pitch black.
Yes. So it takes away any stimulation. And the reason why a float tank is so cool is because it basically does what's called sensory deprivation, where you can access parts of your memory that are not easily accessible because of all the noise. So right now, Kevin and I have 3-4 lights on. We've got the camera. We've got each other. We've got all kinds of stuff coming at us. See, we're not going to be able to access deep memories in our subconscious mind as easily as if we were alone in the dark with earplugs in a float tank. And so that's what I would do. If you want to work through suppressed memories, first you got to get that stuff out. Try breath work. Try a float tank. Try meditation, deep meditations. Try earplugs. I often use earplugs at night. Sometimes I even shower with earplugs on with the lights off. I'm weird, but I think that's a good place to start.
You're going to break your leg. I can't come in today. I broke my leg in the dark shower, and I couldn't hear anything. I would second what everything that Alan said. I know Alan and I for a while did breath work in the studio together, and we were just bawling our eyes out. And I know that was a lot of memories for me, meditation as well. And then I would say see a professional. I think there's genuinely counselors out there who specialize in that. Not my area of expertise, so I would say find somebody who specializes in it.
Also, get great sleep. Get really good sleep. There's a direct correlation with all the neuroscience that I've studied that the better sleep you get, and I'll be brief about this. So we have a lymphatic system. We have a lymphatic system. If I were to jump up and down, the gunk of my cells, my body cells, muscle cells, all that would get filtered through my lymphatic system. The brain doesn't have that. So your brain cells create waste all throughout the day, and that's why we get foggy at night and our willpower depletes, because the prefrontal cortex is no longer making good decisions. That's why most people make terrible decisions at night. But basically, the only way to get rid of the gunk is actually the cerebral fluid that flushes your brain when you're during REM sleep. So if you get very low REM sleep, you most likely are foggy. That's why you're foggy when you don't get good sleep, because you're not flushing the junk. And eventually, you could end up with Alzheimer's. They're linking Alzheimer's to lack of REM sleep. So if you want to access suppressed memories, get better sleep.
New podcast name, The Gunk in Your Cells. Thoughts?
We'll have to do an episode.
What's going on, everybody? My name is Branden Lowe. I am the host of the Decide and Design podcast, and I'm also part of the NLU team. I wanted to give a shout out to Kevin and Alan real quick. So when I first started working for Kevin and Alan, they asked me, what kind of skills do you have? What can you bring to the table? And I was honest and transparent with them. I was like, I don't have a lot of computer skills. I don't have a lot of sales skills or business skills, but I'm willing to work hard. And they decided to take a chance on me and give me a huge opportunity based off of my character. And when they did that, that really showed me what types of people that Kevin and Alan are. I mean, amazing guys who really have been mentoring me, coaching me, and taking me under their wing and completely changing my life. I now host a podcast. I'm on the team. I'm connecting with amazing people, and I'm becoming the man that I was truly meant to be, and it's because of these two amazing guys. I have nothing but amazing things to say about them. I love you guys. Thank you so much for giving me this opportunity. And if you have the chance to work with Kevin and Alan, I highly, highly recommend it.
How do we attract people who are going to help us grow rather than hold us back?
Oh, what a great question. Honestly, simple answer. It's going to sound like a cop-out. Be the person that you actually want to be. Be the person capable of attracting and sustaining that relationship. This is what happens. I did an Instagram live on this, at Never Quit Kid. It's down here if you'd like to give the kid a follow. Okay, imagine this. And this is a hypothetical. Imagine as a young child, you were abused in some way, shape, or form. That starts to take effect as your identity. I am the person who is not capable of attracting love. Your first partner when you're 16 years old is somewhat abusive, not a good person. Your second partner is abusive. Your family starts to be abusive. You attract that into your life. Now, not only do you attract it, but you accept it. So I think there's a huge difference between attracting something and accepting it. When you start leaning into who you are, even if you do attract people who might normally hold you back, you're going to say no instead of yes, come into my life. So I think it starts with being the authentic version of yourself. I did another post on my social media. If you want to attract your people, you have to be yourself. And I think a lot of us we're hiding from who we really are, hoping that other people see who we really are, when you have to be authentically you and trust that the right people, places, things, ideas, and opportunities will present themselves.
Fire. So I would just add that you got to put yourself in a geographical position, not just geographical, but also digital. So if you do want to attract more growth people, Next Level Nation, our private Facebook group, you got to go into rooms, virtual or physical, that have growth people in them. So I used to go to the bar in my early 20s. I would never have found someone like Emilia at the bar because she's so growth oriented. She doesn't go to the bar, especially not now with COVID because of the risk. But that's my point, is if you're going to Barnes and Noble on a Thursday night or a Saturday afternoon and having a Starbucks coffee, reading a personal development book, you're much more likely to meet someone who's into personal development than if you go to the bar. Because personal development people tend to go to Barnes & Noble, not necessarily to the bar. So you just got to put yourself in a position to attract other growth-minded people. So for example, right now, there's a certain amount of people watching this. There's people commenting questions in, NLU team. Like, this is a growth environment. If you're here right now, you care about growth. The title is Dealing with Growing Pains. So no one watching right now, no one listening to Next Level You isn't into growth. So if you want to meet more growth people, you just got to be a part of a community that's into growth and start to meet people.
Book club.
And also book club. Book club every Saturday, 12:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time.
Shameless plug.
DM me.
How do you keep your core identity when you're going through growing pains?
I'm gonna go with Uncle Dave Meltzer here. Basically, you got to check in with your core values and your core beliefs and your core aspirations and figure out, who was I before this? Which of that will still serve me? And which of that no longer serves me? That's what I've always done that. I believe my capabilities are different, but I don't believe my core identity is. I'm still Kevin. I still want to be charitable. I still want to be patient. You know what I mean? I think it's... Your identity remains the same. I think how you look at things changes. And if parts of you don't still resonate, let them go. Like, let them go. I think I want to be a relatable human being. This is something Alan and I were talking about for a while. I want to be a relatable human being, but I don't want to have relatable habits necessarily. Like, I want to be able to go into a room and have some of the best habits because that's who I am as a person. But I had to let go of, like, I have to be relatable to everybody. You know, that was something I had to let go. That's something I'm afraid to let go because I don't want people not to understand me. That's a fear I have. But it depends. I think it depends. And I think a lot of it is a new perspective. But check in with your core values and your core beliefs. Like, what do you believe when it comes to the world? What are your core values, and which of those are still serving you and which aren't? Uncle Dave would say that. So
the core aspirations, core values, and core beliefs thing is an Emilia thing.
Emilia. Well, I stole the check in with your 5 daily practices from Uncle Dave. I was trying to connect those. Oh. But shout out to Emilia of the Why Power podcast.
Had to do it.
No, I dig it.
Core identity. Ask yourself a question that I used to ask all the guests on the Hyperconscious podcast, which is, what about you never changed? What about you, in hindsight, when you do reread the book of your life, never changed? For me, and I'll just be brief about this, I've always wanted to be the best I could be at everything I did. So if I'm going to do something, it could be as simple as playing a video game or as intense as trying to be the best orator or speaker I can possibly be. It always was inside of me to want to be better at everything. I just want to be better, the best I can be at everything I do. It's who I am. And so I think we all have a core identity. You just have to look for patterns that never changed. And I think that some of the stuff is conditioning, and that goes back to what Kevin talked about on the keynote portion, or the live podcast portion rather, about unlearning. So like if you don't think it's a part of your core identity, in other words, like your uniqueness, your spiritual uniqueness, then you can get rid of it. You can unlearn it. But I do think there's a unique part of each of us that does stay, the Earth's core, that everything resonates from.
Magma.
Liquid hot magma.
Magma.
From Austin Powers.
Yes.
How do you know when someone is a good or bad person to look up to?
It's a tough one. That is a tough one. Go ahead.
Are they congruent with the person you aspire to be? So if someone is extremely out of shape and you aspire to be the healthiest version of yourself, then they're probably not as good of a person to look up to specifically in fitness. In other words, how congruent, how aligned are their virtues? How aligned are their core values? How aligned are their goals? So, for example, if you want to learn about how to have a magnificent marriage from someone who's unhappy in their marriage, it's probably not a good idea. And that's not to say that person's a bad person. Maybe they just, aren't a good role model in that specific arena. And I think it's really critical to, and Kevin and I will say this too about podcasting in particular. There's a lot of people who podcast that don't necessarily know how to grow a podcast. Maybe they grew a really strong Instagram and then they started podcasting, but they don't necessarily know how to grow the podcast without Instagram. And so you got to be careful. You got to be discerning. How do you know when someone is a good or bad person to look up to? How aligned are they with who you aspire to be? Because who you learn from needs to be, I remember, and I'll be brief about this because we got to go. I know. I had a guidance counselor who told me I couldn't get into MIT. And honestly, he was full of shit. It's not true. I could have gone to MIT. I had straight A's. Of course I could have. I didn't even try because I believed him. And it was a mistake. I take ownership for that, but I was also a little kid. And so, yeah, that bothers me to this day, and I'm not regretting going to WPI. That was one of the best decisions I've ever made. But I'm not going to sit here and pretend that was poor guidance, in my opinion.
I don't know that there is a good and or bad. I think it's dependent on what they have that you value. But I think this is the easiest answer I would give. If you're focused, so if you're only looking up to them for the result they have with no basis on their character, I think that's probably a negative person to look up to. If you're only basing it off of their character, I think you're way better off because you can form your own results. I think character goes way further than... It's like, okay, you could have a millionaire who lobbies for cigarettes, right? Like that's a possibility. That's definitely out there. Or you could have somebody who pays for a bunch of meals for people who are underprivileged. Like that type of character is something to look up to versus the result of $1 million. That's what I would say. Character over results.
Who are they when no one's watching? I was asked recently, and then we'll go, what does it mean to be next level? what it means to be next level truly from my perspective, and I know Kevin agrees, is who are you when no one's watching? You know, if we give a speech in front of 1,000 people, we have 1,000 different reputations, but you still only have one character. And are the people closest to you, do they believe what the people, the fame and the fortune, all that, like, do they believe that you're a good, strong role model? But at the end of the day, what matters is what you believe most, more so than anything else. So who are you when no one's looking? But more importantly, who are those other people when no one's watching? If they have a strong character, like Kevin said, then I would say it's probably a good person to learn from, but they also must embody some of the results that you also want to achieve.
One of my favorite ones. This was one of my favorite ones. Ladies and gentlemen, as you can see below, if you are looking for coaching, I am leaning into podcast coaching. So if you want to grow, scale, or monetize your show, I would love to help. And then Alan is the business/mindset guru. I don't guru. We're not going to say that. What are you holding it like a baby?
I don't know what to do with my hands.
I don't know what to do with my hands. Also, I know I mentioned this somewhere in this whole thing. If you're on a weight loss thing or if like a fitness thing and you're looking for a little accountability, just DM me. Maybe we can do a little something in Next Level Nation for people, because I know a lot of people are trying to do it, and it's hard if you don't have accountability. So as I said, I'm trying to lose 12 pounds in 12 weeks. That is my goal. I'm going to send it out there publicly. What is your goal, sir?
Not 12 pounds. I don't have 12 pounds to lose.
Oh my gosh. Delusion.
Well, I'm 190 right now, so I don't want to go to 178. That was my stage weight, man.
Well, I think you put on a little muscle. All right, we can't discuss this now.
I know. But I do want to lose some weight, so I'm in.
Okay.
I'm in for that.
Everybody's in. Ladies and gentlemen, we love you. We appreciate you. Thank you so very much for tuning in live. If you're listening to the replay, we appreciate that. Also, as always, we do not have fans. We have family. We will talk to you tomorrow.
Talk to you soon.